Hello crafty friends, Luisa Heinzel here. This is a new video for my series about my little inspiration keeper journal where I collect some inspirations how I can do painted embellishments and ephemera. Excuse me please. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to my playlist. There you will find a little introduction video about this, so that you know what's behind this journal. Today, I came up with an idea that I was so surprised that it worked, that I nearly can't believe it. So I want to show you what this is. And let me just choose a page where I want to do it. So I have some results for this little tutorial out of my camera frame, but I decided not to show you what I will do here before I'm doing it, because it's so incredible that I thought, okay, I want you to see the process, and I want you to have this same surprise like I had when I did this the first time. So hopefully this is new. Hopefully you haven't seen that before. I believe it is new because I searched YouTube and I haven't found anything like this. So yeah, let's see. This tutorial is a little bit, yeah, something like a stamping tutorial. So as you can see, I have this StazOn ink here on my desk. Of course, you can also use acrylic paints or some other paints, brushes mixed with water or something like that. You know, I have this green color palette in this journal, and I thought this brown StazOn ink would fit really well to this color palette. Of course, I could choose some of those colors here as well, but for this, I wanted to have the focus on the process and not on the color. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So as I said, you will need some color, so ink or other paint. Then you will need such a beauty blender tool. You can also use any other sponge, something that's really flexible. So it has to be really flexible. What not will work are these distressing tools with this little harder bottoms that you can press to the paper. That will not work. I tried that out. That's not such a beautiful effect. I think that's the best for it. I will tell you in a second why I think that this is the best. And what you also need are some tiny flowers and leaves and something from your garden. So at the moment it's very cold here in Austria, so we don't have snow. We are lucky people, but that's all what I could found in my garden. So I think in the near future we will find many of those different little tiny flower blossoms that we can use for that. But yeah, for the moment I only have those, but the results are really amazing. I promise you. So okay, you can check out how big your blossom can be, because that's an important thing for the result. You can check that out by pressing this thing with ink on it to a trash paper, a junk envelope, for example, like this, and then you will get this little dot here. So I prepared that, and then you can take one of your blossoms and you can put it here and you can see if that would fit. So this blossom has to fit into this circle for a nice result. Of course, when you did this a few times and you have a little practice, because that's a little bit tricky what I will do here now, then you can use also bigger things. But for the first try, I would recommend to use some tiny blossoms that are fitting into this circle here. And then the fun part begins. So I have just chosen here a page in my journal that I want to use. Hopefully you can see that. And the first thing I will use is one of those little yellow things here. And for that, as you can see, they have this little thicker parts. Hopefully you can see that, what's going on with my camera frame. Focus here. You can see that here is a little bit of a thicker thing at the bottom of this blossom. So I take my fingernail and make it like this, so that I only have this little thing and the rest of this thicker part is left on the rest of it. So that I have this nearly flat thing here. Then I will put it to my paper here. For example, you can put it, of course, where you want it. So now it lays, the most possibly flat way here on this page, as you can see. And then I take this tool and take some ink, and then I press it down really carefully and give it a good press and lift it up, and then I have this incredibly awesome stamp. I know the people who have stamps, who have clear stamps, silicone stamps, rubber stamps, whatever, perhaps you may not be such surprised about this because you have a stamp and you can stamp with it and perhaps have such a thing here as well. But I'm so surprised about it because it came from nature. It's really, really something unique that nobody else will have, because every flower will react a little bit different. And that's the cool thing for me. And I'm really, really happy how this worked. But that's not the end of the tutorial, because you know me. Now, when you have lifted up, as you can see, the flower sticks here on the inked side of this sponge. So when you lift it up, sometimes it is here and you have to lift it with your fingers, but the most times it will stick here. Now, let's try to take this apart here and put this thing with the inked side to the paper, so that the ink is, in the direction of the paper. So on the top here now is no ink, and now I take this side from the sponge, so the other side where there's no ink, you can see it's black, but it's dry, and it has no ink here, as you can see on my finger. And then I press this like this, and you have to wait a little bit because it's the second generation of this stamp. Then when you lift this up and everything worked like I planned it, then you have the other side stamped from this little flower. This is not such incredibly thing, but I think I waited too long with this ink. Normally, when I did it before and I did it faster without explaining anything in between, then this came out really, really clear. So let's try to do this with another one and perhaps a little bit faster. And I also have these little flowers here. So as you can see, it's a little bit brown because I used it. That's no problem. You can use it several times. Originally it was such a thing, as you can see. And I just have to check if this is dry, because when I use it again, of course, I want to have this here in the middle, that it's the color of my paper. So when you use it over and over again, you have to wait a little bit until this little thing here is dry, so that the paint or the ink is dry, that you don't have too much paint in this area where you want to have the page show through. So this is dry. Of course, I could also use a new one, but I think when I borrow some things from nature, then I want to make the best out of it, and I want to, if I can use them several times, I want to do it, because, it's a living thing and I don't want to waste it. So I do the same step like I did before. I press this down here, lift it up, and as you can see, another really cool stamp. And if you do this with a different color, so for example, this stays on ink, you have different kinds of colors that you can buy. And of course, you can also use green or other colors. So now let's take this and put it, for example, here. Of course, I will get the back side from this now, but of course we can also do it the other way around. But that also looks really cool when you look at this. Of course, that's a light thing, a really, something like a light stamp or something like that. But I think the possibilities that you have with this are nearly endless, and you can do really, really, really cool things with it. So let's try it. I have to think about it. When I put it this way, we will have the ink on the upper side of this flower. So let's try this, so that we perhaps get another result in a different looking way when we put it this direction. And then you can see you have this, of course, this middle part of the blossom as well. And I know my camera can't show that like my eyes can see it. So I will try to make some photos of it and put them to the end of the video, so that you can see that it's a really, really cool result. And of course, you can also use some leaves for this. So, but let me first try this one here. This blue one I didn't try before this video, because I don't have so many in my garden of them, and I don't want it to kill them. So this is the thickest one of those three. So this one here was really thick as well, but when I pressed it down, it was something like more regular when I press it. This is here a little bit wavy and flexible, and it's moving around a little bit, and I don't know what will happen here, but we will see now, and we will see if that can work. And the reason why I use this sponge is the following. This sponge is a little bit round here on the bottom. And when I go into my ink and then I look from the side, I can see where is the middle of the flower and where do I have to press. And then the middle part, where it's the thickest thing here of the sponge, will press down the middle of the flower first and then the leaves. And that's, I think, a good thing, because you can control it better by doing it like this. So perhaps we put this here on top that we can compare them. And also with this other side, so when you press with the clean side of the thing here, you can control it better, because this tip here will press the middle of your flower down first. So let me show you that from the side. When I press it, then I press it like this. So this tip here of this sponge, I press it to the middle of the flower first, like this, and then press it down completely. And so the little leaves of the flower will spread out to the sides, and then it will be a nice, or not. Okay, so this is really light. Yeah, what I wanted to say, it will be a nice effect like this here, so the flower can't move away, but here, as you can see, it's really light. But I believe when you use white paper, for example, that can be a really cool effect. Or when you make this several times, for example, on a masking tape or something like that, then I think this can be great as well. So this one here is not so obviously good, but yeah, it's all about trying that out, of course. So let's try this little leaf here. And, oopsala, sorry. Let's see what happens here. And of course, this here is only an example page. Of course, I wouldn't do this here in this same way in my journal where I want to use it. So perhaps if you missed this introduction video of this journal series thing here, then you can't understand why I'm doing it like this, because yeah, I only collect these ideas here on this page. And when I come back to this double page, I can see, okay, this was my experimenting with this sponge. I will write little things, which flowers I used here, and then I can reproduce that for another journal, and I can put a focal point like this to a journal page that I'm working on, for example. And yeah, I believe with this thing here, we could also, let me just check that out if that would be possible. Yes, I think so. Of course, you can also make a little pattern out of those. So let's take this page for that. And I take my junk envelope here to make this part of the stamping not in the journal, but on another, yeah, on this other surface here, so that I can get the ink to my leaf here in the same way like I had it here. I don't want to press my leaf to my ink pad, because I don't want to have, yeah, that stuff of the plant on my ink pad, and I want to have the same result like I had before. And don't want to risk anything that it perhaps don't works. Okay, so here is number one. And of course, you can also tear that out here from this junk envelope if you want to use that. That's of course also possible that you make little scraps or collages or something like that out of it, and use that for another journal or something like that. Upsala. Stay here, stays on. Yeah. So hopefully everyone is okay out there. I heard some really strange things about tornadoes in America in some areas, and I was really scared because I thought the weather in Austria is strange sometimes, but I think my friends in America have a really strange thing as well. So we have sometimes snow in August or something like that, but with this stormy weather and this tornado thing, I was really scared when I heard that. So by the way, I want to send some hugs to Laura, because she wrote me when this storm was in her area, and she had really troubles with her cats, and yeah, with herself, of course. And that was really scaring. Yeah, now we have this little thing here, and I think that looks really great, especially with the sewing here. And of course you can make such patterns with anything that you have. So when you think, okay, I can make such a pattern with my plants in reality, then do it, lay it down to your table, and then you can stamp it in the same way like it was on your table here to your page. So for example, we could try to make some additional things here to it. We could try to add those things here to the sides. For that, I do it the same way, and I also do it because I think you got the technique already, but I want to show you the possibilities that you have with this, and I think they are nearly endless, and you can do so many things. And I also tried to stamp this on masking tape. That's a really cool thing. You can do something like, yeah, something like a washi tape or something like that with it and put it to your journal. That's a really cool thing. Of course, you could also make that on scraps and then glue it with glue. You don't have to use masking tape. I have the problem that I can't talk when I have to concentrate what I'm doing here, because turning this sponge in the right direction and having the leaf in the right direction is not so easy for me at the moment, as you can see. So let me just do the last thing and then I show you the result. Because of course, when you make one mistake and you press it down with the wrong side, then you have the ink there, and I don't want to have that, but sometimes I'm a little bit confused, especially when I have to record some videos. So yeah, as you can see, you can put more things to your pattern, so you could even stamp a whole page with this. And what I want to recommend is the following thing. As you can see, you can see these little lines here of the leaf. These lines that we all love when we see leaves, or sorry, something went wrong with my camera. So the lines, of course, you know that, but you have to have this in mind, please. The lines are on the front side of the leaf. So if you want to have this optic here and you want to have the lines here, then you have to put the ink, of course, to this side of the leaf. On the back side, we have this as well, but that will make a totally different look in the end. So yeah, you can try that out. And of course, you can write what you did here. You can, write front side, back side, stays on ink, timber brown. You can write which plant it was. Yeah, I can't say that in English because I don't know the names for exactly those here. I have problems to find the German names for them because I'm not a garden expert, but yeah, that's the thing that you can do. And what you also can do when you perhaps have this like a band through your, or like a line through your journal with something like, for example, a white pen. So like I did it here, I have this white elements here. Of course, you can decorate your stamping. It belongs a little bit to the ink or the paint that you used here. I know that I can paint over, or I can write over the StazOn ink with this corrector's pen. So I use this, as you know, very often when my other white pen don't want to do that what I want. And I tried that out and I know that it will work, but of course you can use your junk paper that you had here, and you can try it out if it will work on your ink or on your paint that you used. So it belongs, of course, to the thing that you have under it, so the ink or the paint. And of course, it belongs to the quality of the white pen. There are, and perhaps to the paper a little bit as well. Of course, there are white pens that will work on nearly every paper, and there are also those who promise that they will work, but they don't work. And please check that out on a piece of junk paper or something like that before you do it, because otherwise the whole work, yeah, was for nothing, or how can you say that? And I'm trying to get some of those white elements now here. And I think when you don't have the stamp in the middle of this circle, that can look really nice, because then you have a little space. So I will show you that in detail in a second. I have to press this down a little bit. Sorry, I think you can't see anything. You have a little bit space for experimenting and painting and, yeah, doodling by yourself. So that now, when you look at this, it seems that the flower is in the focus, in this focal point of this circle, but you don't have too much of this brown around. And even if it's not in the middle of it, it seems like it's the most important thing of this whole stuff. And yeah, of course, when you put something to a journal page, and of course that's work, and you have to make it, so it's not something like a printable that you print out and cut it out in glue. So it's a little bit more work for a journal page. And of course, you want to let it come out. So, and you want that the people think, oh, what special thing is that? And I think this way is a really good way to break this brown a little bit down and get some more interest to it. Of course, you could also put some white dots in the middle. That's a really hard decision. I think I will try it out here. What do you think? Not so bad, but also not something like, oh, I have to do it every time. So let's do it here so that those both are similar to each other. Now, oh, just do it here as well, so that we can also see the difference on these different papers, because this is eco-dyed paper. This is, what's that, from a paper bag, and this is from another paper bag. So 3 different kinds of material. And here I also have something like, yeah, this thread here from the sewing, so that you can see that this looks really different. So the brown comes out completely different than here. Perhaps you can see that here it's nearly black, and here it's, yeah, something like a really autumn brown or something like that. And I think that's a really cool thing. So because it reacts differently on different papers, that's the interesting thing for me. So I think that's a cool thing. And of course, you don't have to use plain paper for this. So let's just flip this over here, and let's make a little last thing here for this video. On this little book page. So I think this one here was the one I like the most, this yellow one. So, sorry, you can't see anything. We put that here. And now I will try to take 2 of them. So I have a really tiny one here, in this one, but I think the circle that we will get will be big enough to handle that. So yeah, the biggest problem for me here at the moment is to press the page down, but hopefully that will work. Yes, I think. And sometimes my camera is making really big shit, sorry. Hopefully you can see anything. And when you would like to do this, I would recommend to do it before you put your pages into the journal, because then you have a flat table somewhere and you can press it down without having the other pages here around. So this shit couldn't happen, sorry. And you can, you have a little bit more of a control of it. So as you can see, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with this. Look how beautiful this is. So I don't know if you can see that with my eyes. So I love this simpleness of it, because you can see here the book letters here and the writing through it, and I think that's really, really, really cool. And the smaller, of course, the smaller your things that you use are, the more you can put here to one of those circles. And of course you can also, as I said in the beginning, use any other sponge. For example, another shape. You can make a squared shape or something like that and use that. But I like those circles. I'm a circle fan. And yeah, so I like to do it like this. And perhaps, yeah, if I could do this out of the journal, I would be very happy. Perhaps you can put something heavier material under it, a book plate or something like that. I think that's the right word. That would be perhaps a good idea, but I haven't thought about it before I did it here. And of course, also you can do it like this and put some dots in the middle so that it gets perhaps a little bit more interest, even if I think that it was really beautiful before as it was. And of course, if you are good in sewing and a good person on the sewing machine, you could also sew around here. So of course, before you put the page into the journal. Now it's not possible anymore, but when you do this before binding the journal, then of course you can sew around here. There are so many possibilities. Yeah, I will play around now here a little bit more, and I will show you some more photos at the end of the video, what I came up with. I think you got the idea of this. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you will try it out. Hopefully you will show me your results. I would be really happy about that. So yeah, have much fun to try this out. See you the next time, and bye bye.